United States President Donald Trump launches a ground invasion of Venezuela. According to him, this is necessary to fight drug traffickers. But suddenly news emerges that the United States has sent two B-1 bombers toward Venezuela after a demonstration attack the day before involving other B-52 bombers and F-35 fighters. These flights carried out in international airspace indicate an escalation of pressure on Venezuela's self-proclaimed president, Nicolas Maduro. Later, it became known that the United States began sending troops to the shores of Venezuela and is threatening to land on the country's territory. And later, Trump stated that the United States is moving to conduct ground military operations against drug cartels in Venezuela. In this episode, we'll discuss what's really happening and whether the United States is truly ready to invade Venezuela. I am Alexei Pichi. Today is October 24th. Let's discuss this topic. But before we begin, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, give it a like, and please leave any comment under this episode. Subscribe to my Telegram channel, Peci Newson. The link is in the description of this video. There we publish breaking news as it comes in. If you want to support the work of this YouTube channel financially, you can do so with any donation or a paid subscription through sponsorship on YouTube. All links and instructions are in this video's description, which also says support the channel Alexei Pichi. Choose the format that's convenient for you. I will be grateful for any support you can give. Donald Trump has announced the United States will begin ground military operations against drug cartels in Venezuela. What does an actual American invasion of this country mean? Moreover, Trump stated that the main goal is to eliminate the primary threat. That's the drug cartel leader and self-declared Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro. And it seems that this time it's not just words. On Thursday, October 23, the American military sent a pair of supersonic heavy bombers to the coast of Venezuela just over a week after another group of American bombers made a similar flight. As part of exercises to practice an attack on Venezuelan territory. Moreover, the United States Armed Forces have concentrated unusually large forces in the Caribbean Sea and the waters of Venezuela, which has led to speculation about a possible overthrow of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Let me remind you, Maduro has been charged with narco-terrorism in the United States. And now, supporting these assumptions since the beginning of September, the American military have been carrying out deadly strikes on ships in the waters of Venezuela, which, according to Trump, are involved in drug trafficking. And now, according to flight tracking data, two B-1 Lanza bombers took off from Díaz Air Force Base in Texas on Thursday and flew across the Caribbean Sea to the coast of Venezuela. In Washington, officials called this flight a training exercise, but privately said American pilots are prepared to strike drug cartels in Venezuela. And let me remind you, the B-1 bomber can carry more bombs than any other aircraft in the United States arsenal. But it turned out this is just one of the recent episodes. Last week, a similar flight of the slower B-52 Stratofortress bombers took place in the region. The bombers were joined by the low observable F-35B fighters of the United States Marine Corps. One of the squadrons is currently based in Puerto Rico. To appear closer, the Pentagon demonstratively published a photo of the planes in the sky near Venezuela and captioned it as, quote, a demonstration of a bombing attack. Notably, when Trump was asked on Thursday about the B-1 flight near Venezuela and whether it was meant to increase military pressure on Venezuela, Trump replied that it was a lie, but said that we are dissatisfied with Venezuela for many reasons. Drugs are one of them. Well, he kind of stated that all these flights are not aimed at intimidating Maduro's regime, but in reality, that's exactly what they are. Why? Just think about it. The United States forces in the Caribbean Sea currently include 8 warships P-8 patrol aircraft MQ, 9 Reaper drones, F-35 fighter squadrons. Now, B-1 and B-52 bombers are being added as well. In addition, the presence of a submarine in South American waters has been confirmed, which can also be used to attack Venezuela. Moreover, the same Donald Trump stated on Wednesday that he has the legal authority to strike ships that are allegedly transporting drugs. And he seemed to suggest that similar strikes can now be carried out on land as well, that is, on the territory of Venezuela. Quote, "We will strike them very hard when they come by land. We are fully prepared for this. And probably we will then return to Congress and explain in detail exactly what we are doing when we strike them on land." What does Congress have to do with this? Because, well, actually, you need to declare war in order to invade another country's territory, even if it's a fight against drug cartels. But Trump explains that no, in this case it's not necessary. United States Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth stated on Wednesday that the military carried out a ninth strike, killing 3 people in the eastern part of the Pacific Ocean. This happened after a strike on Tuesday evening, also in the eastern part of the Pacific Ocean, which resulted in the deaths of 2 people. The total number of people killed as a result of such strikes has reached at least 37. The latest pair of strikes expanded the Trump administration's campaign against illegal drug trafficking in South America, extending it from the waters of the Caribbean Sea to the eastern part of the Pacific Ocean. Pete Hegseth, the United States Secretary of Defense, directly compared this to the war on terrorism declared after September 11, 2001. And here we are. Our message to these foreign terrorist organizations is that we will treat them the same way we treated Al-Qaeda. We will find you, we will map your networks, we will track you down and kill you. And then there was a statement from Donald Trump, who said that the United States would kill people who bring drugs into the country from Venezuela. When asked by a journalist whether he would ask Congress for permission to go to war with Venezuela, Trump replied, "I don't think we necessarily need to ask for a declaration of war. I think we'll just kill people who bring drugs into our country." And then Trump clearly explained that the United States will soon move to conduct ground operations against drug cartels in Venezuela. And let me remind you that since the beginning of September, American warships have repeatedly struck ships in international waters that, according to the United States, were linked to Venezuelan drug cartels. In the most recent attack, Trump said on September 19 that 3 narco-terrorists were eliminated. At the same time, the United States deployed a small group of warships off the coast of Venezuela, justifying it as a fight against drug traffickers, and stationed fighter jets on its nearest overseas territory in Puerto Rico. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro called the United States airstrikes on ships in the Caribbean the most serious threat to Latin America in hundreds and hundreds of years. Well, and the Venezuelan Minister of Defense, Vladimir Padrino Lopez, called this an undeclared war, as a result of which, quote, "people were executed regardless of whether they were drug traffickers or not." And let me remind you that Nicolas Maduro is accused of being the leader of a drug cartel. And in mid-September, Caracas conducted a military exercise called Caribbean Sovereignty 200 in Venezuela's territorial waters, trying to show that, if necessary, they are ready to fight and defend themselves. But as it seems to me, this didn't really scare the Americans. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments under this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. That's it for now. Take care. Goodbye.